When you think of beer in St. Louis, what comes to mind?
Budweiser?
Wrong.
Maybe Clydesdales?
Yes, they're there now. But what about Lemp Mansion?
Oh.
Hello there, Parapeeps, and welcome to another episode of Our Haunted Travels. I'm your host, Sean Donnelly.
I'm your co-host, Marianne Donnelly.
That's right. In this video, we are going to talk about the Lemp Mansion and Lemp Beer, Lemp Brewery.
Yes.
Non-existence anymore.
No.
One of their competitors was Budweiser, put them out of business. But
Yeah. And their family even married into the Pabst family, so, you know.
yeah.
Crazy. There seems to be a lot of beer in that area.
Well, yeah. All right, but before we get into that, if you're into the paranormal, history, forensic, and travel type videos,
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ding that little bell so you'll hear from us next time we post a new video.
all right, Lemp Mansion. We visited St. Louis in November of 2017.
Wow.
Actually, we were there for Veterans Day. Remember the parade?
We were.
Yeah. So we are talking about Panic D 1253, the Lemp Mansion. This, if you're into the paranormal, you know about the Lemp Mansion. It is quite haunted location. And
And
All
it
right.
is open to the public
It's open
as a
to the public.
restaurant.
yes, it's a restaurant now. All right, let's just do the history. Let's do the history, and then we'll come back and talk about this.
Okay.
All right, so watch this. We'll be right back.
When John Adam Lemp arrived in St. Louis from Eswich, Germany in 1838, he seemed no different from thousands of other immigrants who poured into the gateway to the West during the first half of the 19th century. Lemp originally sought his fortune as a grocer, but his store was unique, for it had the ability to supply an item sold by none of his competitors: lager beer. Lemp had learned the art of brewing the effervescent beverage under the tutelage of his father in Eswich, and the natural cave system under St. Louis provided the perfect temperature for aging beer. Lemp soon realized that the future of lager beer in America was as golden as the brew itself, and in 1840 he abandoned the grocery business to build a modest brewery at 112 South 2nd Street. A St. Louis industry was born. The brewery enjoyed marvelous success, and John Adam Lemp died a millionaire. William J. Lemp succeeded his father as the head of the brewery, and he soon built it into an industrial giant. In 1864, a new plant was erected at Cherokee Street and Carondelet Avenue. The size of the brewery grew with the demand for its product, and soon it covered 5 city blocks. In 1870, Lemp was by far the largest brewery in St. Louis, and the Lemp family symbolized the city's wealth and power. Lemp Beer controlled the lion's share of the St. Louis market, a position it held until Prohibition. In 1892, the brewery was incorporated as the William J. Lemp Brewing Company. In 1897, 2 of the brewing industry's titans toasted each other when William Lemp's daughter Hilda married Gustav Pabst, one of the noted Milwaukee brewing family. The demise of the Lemp Empire is one of the great mercantile mysteries of St. Louis. The first major fissure in the Lemp dynasty occurred when Frederick Lemp, William's favorite son and heir apparent to the brewery presidency, died under mysterious circumstances in 1901. 3 years later, William J. Lemp shot himself in the head in a bedroom at the family mansion, apparently still grieving the loss of his beloved Frederick. William J. Lemp Jr. succeeded his father as president. Tragedy continued then to stalk the Lemps. The brewery's fortunes continued to decline until Prohibition in 1919 closed the plant permanently. William Jr.'s sister, Elsa, who was considered the wealthiest heiress in St. Louis, committed suicide in 1920. On June 28, 1922, the magnificent Lemp Brewery, which had once been valued at $7 million and covered 10 city blocks, was sold at auction to the International Shoe Company for $588,500. Although most of the company's assets were liquidated, the Lemps continued to have almost morbid attachment to the family mansion. After presiding over the sale of the brewery, William J. Lemp Jr. shot himself in the same building where his father died 18 years earlier. His son, William Lemp III, was 42 when he died of a heart attack in 1943. William Jr.'s brother Charles continued to reside at the house after his brother's suicide. An extremely bitter man, Charles led a reclusive existence until he too died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The body was discovered by his brother Edwin. In 1970, Edwin Lemp died of natural causes at the age of 90. Now for a little bit of information about the Lemp Mansion itself. The mansion was built in early 1860s and was subsequently purchased by William J. Lemp as a residence and auxiliary brewery office. Although it was already an impressive structure, Lemp used his massive brewery fortune to turn the 33-room house into a Victorian showplace. The radiator system was installed in 1884, 5 years after radiant heat was patented. The grand staircase was removed to accommodate an open-air lift that ran the gamut of the house. Today, the decorative iron gates in the basement restaurant are all that remain of the elevator. In 1904, the house was completely renovated. To the left of the main entrance is the former brewery office where William Jr. committed suicide. The decorative mantel there is Italian marble. To the right is the parlor, with its hand-painted ceiling and intricately carved mantels of African mahogany. Behind the parlor is an atrium where the Lemps kept exotic plants and birds. The main bathroom is dominated by a unique glass-enclosed freestanding shower that Lemp discovered in an Italian hotel and brought back to St. Louis for his personal use. Other unusual fixtures in the room are a barber chair and a sink with glass legs. At the rear of the house, there are 3 massive vaults that the Lemps built to store great quantities of art objects. The Lemps were such avid art collectors that they could not display all of their acquisitions at once. Each vault is 15 feet wide, 25 feet deep, and 13 feet high. The bedrooms were all on the second floor. The main bathroom there has a white granite shower stall and a marble and cast iron mantel. The servants' quarters were located on the 3rd floor, which boasts cedar walk-in closets, a skylight, and an observation deck. The mansion does not have a ballroom in the traditional sense because the Lemps built an auditorium, ballroom, and swimming pool in a natural underground cavern that could be reached from a now sealed tunnel in the basement. Another tunnel led from the house to the brewery as well. The wine and beer cellars, laundry, and kitchen were located in the basement. The huge kitchen that once served the elite of St. Louis society has been completely modernized and now serves honored guests of the historic Lemp Mansion restaurant. Today, the mansion lovingly has been restored by the Pointer family and offers the guests the luxury of a beer baron's lifestyle combined with casual hominess in its restaurant.
Okay, there's the history of the mansion. If you've been there, you ate dinner there, you've heard of it, leave us a comment. Leave us a comment if you haven't. Okay, but you should know about Lemp Mansion if you're into paranormal.
Okay.
I did. I know about it. You said, hey, we're going to St. Louis. And I said, hey, well, we need to go to Lemp Mansion. How far is it? And it's right there. It's not like we had to drive 2 hours or whatever. It's
no,
like right
it was
there.
Pretty close.
However,
it was about 4 hours to get a ride there.
Yeah. 4 hours to go about 5-minute drive.
It was ridiculous. We could have walked there faster.
We could have.
Yeah. So when we went, it was for one of my conferences.
Yes.
And so there was my conference going on in town. There was another religious conference of some kind going on. And so there were just tons of people. And there was no taxis.
No taxis, no Ubers, no nothing. And we're like, okay, we have an appointment.
We have a reservation
to be at Lemp Mansion. They're like, oh, sorry, I don't know what you're going to tell you.
Yeah,
but luckily,
it was awful.
We got there late.
We did.
Somehow we ended up getting a taxi. We got there late.
I was so worried that they weren't going to let us participate in the event because we were late.
I remember standing out in front of that hotel waiting on it, just looking at the time going, oh man, because we like to be places a little bit early.
We like to be there early.
Just to kind of scope it out, maybe walk around the outside, check it out a little bit, kind of get it acclimated of the spot. But we literally got out of the taxi and ran right into the
We ran in and I'm like, I am so sorry we're late. Will you still let us participate? We couldn't get a ride. And they're like, yeah, we kind of know that's how... There's been a problem with that tonight. So they did let us participate because it literally said on our tickets that they wouldn't let you participate if you came late. And so like I was like, we just threw away this money. We finally got a ride over here and we're late. We were like, what, 5 or 10 minutes late. And I was terrified they weren't going to let us do it. And I was just so agitated for the whole first part of the investigation.
The taxi driver was kind of cool when we were going to, he was waiting on us and so we could go to the gift shop and, you know, do that kind of stuff. This is like probably a once in a lifetime thing going here. I don't know if we ever find ourselves back in St. Louis, we'll go there, but
yeah.
The
conference is in St. Louis this year.
Don't start. Anyways, you can see we're doing things a little bit backwards. We haven't talked about the paranormal. We just talked about our personal experiences. We're going to share with you something that is extremely cool.
Yes.
It's long.
Yes.
But.
So buckle up.
But I highly recommend you watch the entire thing because we are bringing you with us on the ghost hunt to Lemp Mansion.
Yes.
I just sat last night going through the footage. Now, here's what happened. This is really cool. I don't even remember the name of the group that put it on, but and hopefully they still do. Mm-hmm. But this is really cool. They provide you a night vision camera, which is great because we wouldn't take our night vision camera on a plane and go whatever and worry about it getting damaged. Anyways, both of us, they provided us a night vision camera. And then afterwards, they give you the SD card.
Mm-hmm. It's part of your ticket cost.
Right. Now, this was in 2017.
Yeah. Now, you have to give the camera back.
Oh, yeah. You get the camera back, but they give you the cards at the end.
But they do give you the card.
But here's the thing. We lost the cards. I didn't know where they were. That's why we haven't done this location. I'm like, man, this sucks. Like, where's those video? Where's the video? We had video. Anyways, as you notice, we redid the office back here, moved stuff around, went through Marianne found the cards.
Yeah, they were actually,
she found them.
They were actually sitting right here
buried
under the monitor. They were sitting right here.
Now they are archived, and they're going to be part of this video. So this is a lot long. It's probably about 40-some minutes. Hopefully this video actually compiles and I can upload it and everything. Go ahead and watch this video. I tried to cut out some of the boring parts, like the parts going up and down stairs and everything. But every once in a while, you'll see Marianne. This is Marianne's version. Okay. I have to go back. I might put some of my clips in there, but my video was horrible. I couldn't hold the camera straight, whatever. But every once in a while, you'll see Marianne sit the camera down. I didn't cut some of those parts out because you could hear the guys talking. They're telling you about the paranormal stories, things that happened in the building historically. You're going to see inside the building. Mm-hmm. This is really cool. It's like a virtual ghost hunt, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So as you're watching this, we're bringing you with us. If you see things in the video that I'm not seeing on my little editing screen, I'll go back and play this later, but if you see things in the video, leave it down in the comments. Hey, at this section, I seen this orb, I seen this move, I see this shadow figure, whatever. You're coming with us. You're going to help us analyze the data. If you hear anything strange, well, it's kind of hard because it was an active restaurant at the time, so you hear stuff in the background and things like that, so you got to kind of roll that out. But pretty cool.
But I do believe that towards the latter part of it, the restaurant was closed for the night then.
Okay.
Towards the end.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I watched the end and I was hearing stuff.
Well, they probably were still cleaning up.
I don't know.
I know that there were no more guests.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Anyways, watch this. We'll come back at the end and wrap up the video.
I'm lost.
So I like to always tell the ladies not to ask any personal questions, but after the tour, if you have not already, go in and just take a walk through the ladies' room. The ladies' room used to be the bathroom of Billy Lemp Jr. I told you Billy was the one who sold off the Lemp Brewery and committed suicide in 1922. Well, he was married to the lavender lady, and he was not husband of the year. And there have been stories that ladies say that they feel a presence because that used to be his bathroom when he was working here at the brewery. So when you're done tonight, just one of those things you might want to just walk in there and see if you have any experiences. The room straight ahead, has anybody been into the museum or the gift shop? Again, you can do that when you come back out if you want to. That was one of 3 vaults that are in this building. They're all the same size. This is where the Lemp family kept their treasures, their artwork, and their money. This one in particular was one they used to work out of on Friday afternoons. The workers would come over here, bring their cards, and it would be paid either in silver or gold. Estimates are that on a Friday they would have between $1 to $2 million in gold or silver sitting in there to take care of the payroll they had. Like I said, it was the 3rd largest brewery in the United States in 1909, so they had quite a task force that worked in that 5-block area. All right, we're going to go up to the 3rd floor. We're going to take our time. Be very careful. The steps are narrow, so watch the steps. Don't worry about your screen. The good news is all downhill from here. So the way I like to run my tour is I'm going to bring you up here, I'm going to take you on each floor, I'm going to give you a little bit of information, each of the rooms, what's going on, and I'm going to turn you loose for about maybe 5 to 10 minutes so you can do your own investigation. You can lock yourself in the closets, sit on the beds, whatever you prefer to do. But the 3rd floor of the Lemp Mansion originally was an attic, and then they converted it to servants' quarters. And again, the Pointer family then made it into bed and breakfast. This is the Elsa room. Who's staying in the Elsa room?
Yes,
Okay. So one of the things that they've done over the years, people that have stayed here, there's a little cubby hole here. And over the years, they've written up their experiences and put that little plastic bag in there. So you can pull some of those out and read them. I read one that said the granola bars were stale. I don't know what that means, paranormal-wise, but that's what somebody said before. There used to be a Ouija board in there up to about 6 months ago, and apparently somebody got so freaked out in the room they removed the Ouija board. So tonight, if you have the experience, write it down, put it in a little bag right here. Excuse me. Now, the other cool thing about the Elsa room, the best story I ever heard, there was a couple spending the night in bed. The lady said that she felt somebody sit down at the edge of the bed. She looked up, she saw a man sitting there, she thought it was her husband. She looked over, there was her husband sleeping next to her. She starts screaming, he starts screaming, and the man sat up, got up, and walked into the bathroom. Of course, they ran in after him, nobody there. So I don't know if you've heard that story before. I know you had some of the other things going on. Another cool story up here. Anybody heard of Zeke, the monkey-faced boy? Okay. I had a tour about 3 months ago, a little ways before Halloween. And I got everybody to the top floor here, and there was a mom with her 8-year-old son. And I said, you know, when we go up there, the rooms are dark. I said, I tell stories, and nobody jumps out or scares anybody. She said, my son has sightings. She said, my mom used to have them. It skipped my generation, but now my son has them. He sees things. So we came up to the 3rd floor. I had not said a word. Came up to the 3rd floor, gathered everybody out there in the hallway. He's looking down the hallway at the 2 bedrooms down there. And I said, what are you looking at? He said, there's a little boy down there. He said, he's waving to me, and he wants me to come play with him. Can I come down and play with him? I said, no, stay right here. And his mom said he does this all the time. I then said, well, this is interesting because I'm telling you now the same story I told them, that there was a boy named Zeke, and there's a lot of stories. You can go from the urban legend where he was illegitimate child of one of the Lemps and he was chained up here. But as far as we can find from research is that in fact he probably was up here. He was probably one of the patients for the overflow, and he probably had maybe Down syndrome or something like that, because they do have pictures of him from the 50s waving out the window. And of course people saw, the face and everything, and so the rumors start from there. He did live here, and he died either by falling or being pushed down the steps. And he fell, apparently, when you look out the steps, we go back down, you can see it goes all the way down to the basement. So it was quite a fall, but that's how he died. So there really was, we believe, on the research that we've been able to do, there was a little boy named Zeke. So I had told that story. The little boy standing there, he's looking down the hallway waving to what he thinks is going to be a playmate. So what I tell people on the 3rd floor is at night, take some things and put them out in the hallway. And just something that, a book, or maybe not your car keys, because you never know, but something else that you want to put out there and see in the morning if they're moved, because people have said they've heard at night a little boy saying, please come play with me. So just something to think about with the Zeke room. All right, we're going to go down the hallway. More stories, then I'll let you have about 5 minutes to kind of do your own mini investigation. How many have watched the Ghost Hunters? Have you ever seen the episode that you did this away? So this is the bedroom where Jason is sitting. Not the other guy, not Jason, but
Justin.
The bald-headed guy. Anyways, bottom line, he's sitting here. He's got his K2 meter sitting over there. He starts a conversation, and the K2 is reacting to him while he's talking to the individual. Jay had said that there had been the rumor or the stories about a gentleman who was up here and had a really, really bad smell, and they experienced that while they were here. Also, they said that they had felt things in his closet also. So this was a pretty active room for the Ghost Hunters group. The other room, they said they saw orbs, but basically this is the room where they had a lot of the interaction going on. Now what people say when they're up here is that they say, I keep hearing noises, walking, footsteps behind the walls here in the closets. And there are passageways behind here. And when they first built this place, that's how the servants used to get up to the roof, do the maintenance work, etc. But they're all closed off, so there's really no way for people to get behind those. Whenever people tell us if they've stayed up here, they say we heard noises, we always tell the Pointer family, because maybe a raccoon got in, or there's a cat, or something got in. They've never found any traces of any animals in there after people have reported that. So again, this room with the Ghost Hunters folks was pretty active. You have the story of Zeke, and then you have the Elsa room down there also with some of their... On the 3rd floor, there is generally, and we talk about this, the residual, there's generally associated with a man. There's a gentleman who walks the hallways, either in this room, hears the walking, and we hear the voice from Zeke. So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes just to kind of walk around, go into any room you want to, any door that's open, you're allowed to go in there, take pictures, take photos, lock yourself in the closet. If you do get taken into a portal, please leave the camera so I can return that. Aaron comes in, yes. So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes, and I'll gather up, and then we'll go down to the 2nd floor. That we left, the overflow had a number of people in here. 50 to 100 is what we kind of surmised that passed away. But we believe that Zeke was one of the people that was here because of Down syndrome, whatever. And then we're not sure if he was pushed or he fell, but it was one of those two. So we had some interaction with him on the voice box over the last couple of months. Somebody asked, Zeke, how did you die? And the word pushed, I mean, it was just as clear as I just said it. So, just kind of interesting. But they do hear the voice up here that says, please come with me over here. Yeah, so you can see that's quite a drop. All right, we're going to head on down to the second floor. Make sure nobody's locked up in the closet there. You're staying in the lavender room, correct? Yeah. Okay, anyways, lavender room. The reason they call it the lavender room is they named it after Lily Hanlon, who was the wife of Billy Lemp Jr. And just so you know, Billy and the lavender lady was not a match made in heaven. She was Catholic and he was something called a Lutheran atheist. And they really didn't get along very well after the initial honeymoon kind of wore off. They had an 11-day trial in February of 1909 over at the old courthouse, and it was in February. There was such a scandal at that time because this was high society. This was the Kardashians before there were Kardashians. And they had to build bleachers on the outside of the courthouse, the courtroom, so that the folks from St. Louis could go out there and sit out there. They opened up the windows in February to listen to it back and forth. And she basically said that he abandoned her, he was a terrible influence, he was unfaithful, and one of the things that he did was he enjoyed sleeping at night when they did stay with her. He had a loaded pistol under his pillow with his hand on it, pointed towards her. She was not happy about that. Now, what he said about her was that she had been unfaithful, she smoked a cigarette. Apparently there was a photo of her taken a long time ago where she was just jokingly holding a cigarette. But the other thing he wrote up is that she constantly wore the color lavender to attract social attention. And in fact, she did. She wore lavender almost every day of her life because that's what the Russian countesses wore. And so she would try to kind of mimic them. The only time she did not wear lavender was at the end of the trial. She wore black. She was awarded custody of their only son so that she could raise him Catholic. But she only got an alimony of $6,000 a year. Billy Lemp was worth between $1 to $1.5 million at that time. She went back through the Missouri Supreme Court and they awarded her a $100,000 lump sum about 2 years later in 1913, which was the largest lump sum payment at the time. Now, that's the history of the Lavender Lady in the Lavender Room. Specifically, though, this was the site of the first suicide. When William Lemp Sr., when his son had died, he never really got over it. He mourned for him almost 3 years, finally couldn't take it anymore, came up into this room and shot himself after eating breakfast. His wife, Julia, who had the 8 children, died of cancer in that bedroom right there. So people have said that on the second floor, as I said, on the third floor, generally it's the apparition of the man walking here. On the second floor, it's the lady in white. Most people think that it's probably Julia. She loved this place. Her parents, in fact, gave them this house as a wedding present. She had the children, she raised the children, etc. So a lot of people think it's Julia. So from time to time on the third floor, you will see the lady in white walking back and forth. There used to be early rumors where people said that they smelled like lavender flowers or the scent of lavender, but over the years, Lysol, I think, has killed that out. So if you smell lavender, my first indication would be somebody has sprayed something around here. But they do have the lady in white apparitions, again, and orbs in this room, too. And for those of you that saw the Ghost Hunters segment, this is one of the rooms, and the room over there where they kind of did a silent dialogue. They whispered a word, and the other person heard it there. Somebody whispered it back to him. Let's go to the next room across here, please. So about 2 years ago, one of our tour guides, what we normally do is when we first come into the building, they allow us to come up here, open up all the rooms and turn the lights down and get the doors open and everything. She opened up the door, walked in, there was a gentleman sitting there in the chair. She said, sir, we're not starting the tours yet. She said the gentleman got up, walked past her and walked down the hallway. And of course, she never came up here again by herself after that. We believe that was probably Charles. We'll talk more about Charles when we go down to his room down there. But this room, the only thing that people keep talking about is they have a very strong feeling that somebody is watching them from either the mirrors or they hear sounds on the walls. Has anybody ever heard of the nursery at the Lemp Mansion? Any of the researches you did? The nursery is supposed to be from people who have sensitivities, It's supposed to be kind of the psychic, if you will, vortex center of the entire mansion. And I know that sounds like a great story, so somebody said, well, prove it to me. The Lemp family keeps it under lock and key. We'll see it when we go out here. That the room next to this wall, keep it under lock and key 24/7. The only people who are allowed to go in there are staff members. We have never been allowed to go in there. If you ever watch the TV show The Ghost Adventures people with Zach and all those guys, they would not allow them to go in there and film. So either one of the best PR stunts that you could possibly pull, or they really, really believe that there's something in there that they do not want stirred up. We have never been allowed, and we've been doing the tours for 5 years. So what I tell people, if you think you have a sensitivity to paranormal or whatever, when we walk out, there's a door out there, and you can kind of stand next to it, put your hand on the door, see what you might feel. But again, no one's allowed in there. But people who have stayed here have seen orbs from the ceiling coming down, and they also have seen faces or something in the mirrors that are on there, or heard noises from that other room over there. All right, we're going to go in the hallway, go by the nursery, and then we're going to go into the Charles room. And just so everybody knows, on the Charles room, that was the last suicide. Charles moved in here in 1929. He and two husband and wife team that he had that had been butlers with him for a long time. They moved in here. He basically stopped going outside, was a recluse, and eventually just got to be too much. He shot his favorite dog and then committed suicide. He is the only one of the Lemp family that actually left a death notice, and it said, "If I am found dead, blame it on no one but me." He had very specific instructions. He was not to be washed, cleaned. He was to be taken immediately, and they did the cremation and finally buried him over, not near the Lemps, but on a farm that he used to own. So we're going to go down there, and Columbus will give you some more of the insight, but I want to get you in the hallway, let you do a little standing next to that door with the nursery, and then we can go into the Charles room. So if you follow me, please.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there it is. Was it going off?
Temperature change.
The
It is-
item
Yeah.
was temperature change, but
Oh, okay.
it was flickering. No one would start talking about the suicide.
It is pretty warm in this room.
Isn't it?
It's hot.
It got like really warm in here.
Yeah. I don't know, we might be over the kitchen.
That's also fun.
So that might make a big difference.
Whatever is in there causes a lot of the paranormal activities that go on in this place. Again, they've had a couple psychics that they talked to, and they said that they just feel a real sense of energy that comes out of there, and it's just something they don't want to mess around. When you go into that room, we saw one picture. This whole place has been redone. It's just 2x4s and drywall, and the staff uses it to store things like extra tables and chairs. They normally come up here in pairs, but they are the only ones who are allowed to go in there. And then I also tell the folks that are staying up here on the second floor, if you look up here, you can see they have a 24/7 ghost cam. If you go to lemp.com, down on the lower hand side, if it's working, that thing is on 24/7 down this hallway. I personally believe they have people called ghost nerds that do nothing but watch that thing, and they drink Mountain Dew and probably Red Bull. So what I normally say is, if you're up here on the second floor about 1 o'clock in the morning, somebody run from your room, just run down the hallway screaming, give them something to look at, make their day if you would, please. All right, we're going to go into the Charles room, and we'll talk with Columbus.
Yeah, right here, the purple area, right here is next to the one, stand out. This is where Charles Lemp committed suicide, bled out here. He shot his dog. And George can tell you about, it was a while ago. How long ago was that?
She says she took it about 2 years ago.
2 years ago?
Yep.
Yeah, she was videoing right in front of this piano, and it said, "Here, doggy, doggy," and a little orb came out from under the piano and came right towards her. Now, if you spend the night, that particular piano has been known to emit a few notes without anybody in the room. For those of you just joining, all this purple area here, this is where Charles bled out after he shot himself. you'll notice it's also a deeper purple down in the crevices. That's because this part of the carpet, it's real gritty right there, and it acts like sandpaper and wears it down. This is another door to that same mysterious room. Now, the other thing about this particular room is it is the only bedroom with a sink. That's because Charles was a germophobic. So much to the point where he had to have money washed before he would even touch it. Right? If you came to visit Charles, you had to remove your shoes at the front door, just like they do in the Orient. But when you went to pick them up, they would be polished and shined and cleaned all the way to where the soles meet the uppers. He just believed in, getting rid of anything germ-related. He would go through 5 or 6 towels a day here. He would take several showers in this bathroom right across the hall. It's a blue azure bathroom. Now the other thing, and by the way, this picture here is actually Johann or Adam Lemp, the original Lemp that came over and started brewing beer. Yeah, you can look in there. There's nothing in that particular one. Now there was in the medicine cabinet, there was a guy who stayed here when it was a boarding facility, and he would wake up in the middle of the night with the sound of footsteps around his bed, turn on a light, and there'd be nothing there. So, now this particular thing, other than looking neat, is it has a mini Tesla coil in there that generates a low-powered electromagnetic field. It's believed that spirits, entities will use that to manipulate sound waves. Particularly, we use a radio here, and we scan backwards. And turn it on. There we go. That was So the theory is that they're using, they're manipulating sound waves. So a lot of times what we'll do to establish whether or not we're communicating versus just gibberish coming across is, and I'll use something from their time frame. What am I holding in my hand? The same thing as earlier. Sometimes they answer, sometimes they don't. Earlier tonight, they actually said keys, but sometimes they won't do that. We did ask Zeke. Zeke, are you here? Well, that didn't sound like you. Zeke has a high-pitched voice. Who's with us? What's your name? Charles, are you in the room? Aye. That's interesting. It sounded a bit German. Short and sweet. Julian? You here? I'll just talk. Eventually they'll talk over me. It happens. It's just like Thanksgiving dinner with the family. Sometimes you'll hear German, sometimes you'll hear expletives. Just saying. Guten Abend. In German. Okay. They're being extremely quiet. At least with you guys. The first two, they were a bit more talkative. They talk amongst themselves sometimes. Sometimes they'll even argue, like they did at the Fox. One's like, fine, I'm going to the elevator, and you heard footsteps walk off towards the elevator. Supervisor looked over at me, and I went, I don't know how they do this. Mess with it. The other times, sometimes people ask if they'll give a message to a deceased loved one, and sometimes they will. I'll say they will. You gonna say hi to anybody in the room? Feel free to ask any question you want to. You may get an answer. It's irritating with me now. Zeke? Now Zeke spoke to the earlier group, but he's not. Maybe you will.
Do you want to play?
A little high-pitched voice.
So we have two people upstairs staying in the Elsie room. We have two people downstairs in the lavender room. So introduce them to Zeke.
Yeah, Zeke, you got visitors tonight. You gonna visit them? Now upstairs, there was a woman that stayed up in the Frederick room and heard a kicking on the footboard there in the middle of the night, and then she just kind of like turned the light on. And then later she felt like a hand pat her on the leg. And something up in there.
Did you tell about Charles at 5 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, he always woke up at 5 a.m. and he felt like everybody in the household that stayed with him, even Vincent Price back in the day, needed to be up at 5 a.m. So he would go around banging on doors and knocking on doors to wake people up. So he's been known to do that as well. This piano over here has been known to play a few notes when nobody's in the room. When you go downstairs to where they have the Mystery Theater, that used to be the gentleman's game room. You may smell cigar smoke. It hadn't been a smoking facility for ages. You might also hear billiards being played. There's not a billiard table in there anymore. Or the elevator's also been known to be heard, and it's not been working for 60 years. The only thing we have on the elevator is the door. Sitting down there. Now I'll show you a couple of quick clips before George takes you downstairs. This first one I took upstairs. I was just walking around with a camera. For the longest time, I'm waiting for it to advance before I look at it. There we go. We got movement. All right. So if you'll look in the mirror over here, for the longest time I thought that was me. You'll see that right there. And then down the hallway, you'll see a shadow jump from one side of the hallway, doorway to the other. There'll be some frame stills at the end. I know this is just easier for me to transport than yeah, so at first I thought she was me. I thought it was my reflection, so I just kind of ignored it. And we don't know where near anything alike. And then on the left-hand side, over here, you'll see the outline being broken up. Now, next, George is going to take you downstairs, and I went down there with him one night and with a camera and got this next capture. I'm just waiting on it to advance right here on the right-hand side, or left-hand. Now it'll come back in slow-mo. Tilted a little. I'm just playing around. Is it blood? Because I don't want to lose blood in my arm. I want to do it for a reason. So yeah. And I just set a camera down on a table while he was talking. Nobody saw it. And the rest of that's just other places I've been, things I've done. What stuff.
Thank you, Columbus. Appreciate it. We're going to head on down to the basement. Anybody have any questions, though, for Columbus? He's been doing this a lot. He likes to spend time over at the Irish pub there, too. He said he's got some great stuff over there. So.
What if you?
Actually, I'll show you the corner Irish pub.
That's my favorite place to go investigate.
What have you ever asked them anything that they like you thought would be cool?
Yeah. I got a spirit guide that follows me everywhere, and up in the one bottling plant, he goes, "You see him?" Yeah, he's back. And so he watches out for a lot. But yeah, this is the Irish corner pub. You have to watch right over here real quick. It's real quick. It's just like a mist.
Oh wow.
Every night at closing time, they have this lady that's been singing more across in front of the fireplace. So I was there Halloween night, and I just set a camera down as I kept talking to me, and lo and behold, there it was. Now, that's a residual haunting. If you can sit there and go, every night at this time, this happens. It's like a recording. It's going to play until it fades out. Now, I know 20 years ago, there was probably a lot more detail to that particular apparition. But yeah, we talked to them. They said, hey, they're like, what do you think of Biddy? Biddy's the owner. First time around, it was like, oh, she's all right. And next time around, they go, Biddy, we love you. So it's kind of interesting. And if you never heard them call your name, it could be a little disconcerting at first. But sometimes they just call you for no reason.
Thank you, Columbus. We're going to head on down. Appreciate it.
All right. You can go out this doorway to the stairs, and then they'll take you all the way down to the basement. There was something. Oh, yeah.
What this is all
I'm staying at the,
you can drop it
and I was thinking about putting a static microphone in here to record.
You probably should.
Would that be a good one? Would this be a good room for it, or where would you recommend putting one static one, and I'm going to put one in our room?
Now, is this going to be like audio or
Yeah,
video?
audio.
Audio. You know, I got a pure audio, not off of here, just off the recording.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Kevin.
Because I'm putting it over there, and then
Just when you-
if the piano does anything, we'll go with that.
Yeah, I should be able to. Just make note, kind of like when you set it down, hey, this is.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Such and such.
at the end through. Yeah. So when we're done. Well,
Yeah.
Because we got it, and I run a group actually down in Columbia.
Oh, okay, cool.
We're
there's a set of mirrors here, there's also another set in there. They've got them, so they're basically kind of what they call it, just looking at infinity. If you get the right angle, you just kind of keep looking. I don't know, it was about 3 months ago, someone took a photo and there was somebody about the 8th layer in looking back out. Maybe you should ask the staff for that opposed to the other room. Excuse me. Sorry. That's all right. basically where you're standing is where I was standing when he took that, the picture behind me of the lady that was there. So, one of the cool things about the Lemp Mansion, unfortunately, is what you cannot see. This is the last remaining entrance that they had that led down to the caves. When the Lemps built this, they built a cave system that went from here, a tunnel system that went all the way over to the brewery, and they had huge caves in there where they used to keep, originally where they kept the beer to keep it cold before they put in the mechanical, the refrigerator systems. But what they also did, though, is they built a full-size theater, swimming pool, a billiards room, and an auditorium below here. They could get access to it. I don't know how many of you have ever heard of the Cherokee Caves from 1941, 1961. They used to actually allow you to go down there, take tours, and you could actually see the swimming pool and part of the theater. Of course, over the years, because of the construction with I-55, a lot of that obviously was destroyed and just became unsafe. So they put the cover over the top. But they used to actually be able to take spiral staircases down and tunnel over to wherever they were. They used to have Billy Lemp especially had some phenomenal parties. And there are people who have sensitivities that say they can still feel some of that energy coming up from that specific area. This was always the kitchen area down here where you saw the kitchen. So the renovation that they did was basically to do this, to get the different types of dining rooms and things. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to take pictures, and then we're going to head back on upstairs. So I'll give you a couple of minutes here just to take in some of the sights down here. This is what remains of the elevator system. When they originally built the house, they had the staircase that you saw. They took that out in 1904. They put the elevator system. This elevator system was basically in here, showed the death of Charles when he committed suicide. They then took out the elevator when they did other renovations and actually put back in the staircase that you saw up there on the first floor. So this is the last remaining piece of that elevator system. All right, we're going to head upstairs. This part of the carpet, right here is excellent sandpaper. This is another door that's
All right, there you go. Now, we have more footage. If you watch this far, you may be a Patreon supporter. But I'm going to take both uncut videos and put them on our Patreon page for our paid Patreon supporters. Just for $1, you can see the full uncut of both cameras. $1 a month.
If you want to see Sean's. No.
Yeah.
No. But if you want to see the full uncut, we'll have those available for you.
We're going to put them up for our paid Patreon.
Okay.
So, anything else you want to add to this? Did you like Lemp Mansion?
I did, and I wanted to go back there for dinner, but we never made it back the next day.
Well, we had to change hotels.
We had to change hotels and go to a different hotel because, obviously, as I said, when we had this, there was 2 different major conferences going on in town, and so we couldn't get the same hotel for both the whole weekend. So I would like to go back there and have dinner, just for that experience in the future. Yeah,
I want to go back and do that ghost hunt again. It was actually kind of cool.
You know,
I will tell you this: I don't want to go back and stay there. No, no, I'm not. Listen, I'm not scared of the paranormal by no means, because I've told people I just don't let them follow me home, attach to me, do that kind of stuff. We protect ourselves and all that. Okay. However, I don't want to be woken up while I'm sleeping. When I finally get time to sleep, don't bother me. Let me get my sleep. Because I know if you slept there, they'd be bothering you, yelling, hey, I got something to say. Hey. Yeah, no.
Okay.
All right, folks. Till next time.
Thanks for watching.
And happy hunting.
Let us know if you like this video by hitting that thumbs up. Also, if you'd like to see more videos from us in the future, support our channel by hitting that subscribe button and dinging that bell so you get notified the next time there's a video from Panic D Videos.
Thanks for watching.
Happy hunting.